Have you ever noticed how, in global politics, there are moments after which everything changes? Not in a week, not in a month, but instantly. One move, one launch, one pipeline, and the world is no longer the same. That is exactly what happened with the launch of the expanded Trans Mountain Pipeline in Canada. Since April 2nd, 2025, oil has been flowing through it, and what may seem like a purely technical event has, in reality, marked the beginning of a geoeconomic shift that could shake not only the energy sector, but the entire international system we have grown used to. This is not just infrastructure. This is a geopolitical statement. Canada is no longer willing to be the quiet neighbor of the United States. It is telling the world, we are independent, we are strong, and we are ready to choose who we work with and on what terms. Since the last round of tariffs imposed by the Trump administration, the oil market in North America has been in shock. Oil prices have plunged by 15%. This is not just a drop. This is a panic reaction to a signal the old structure is collapsing. Canada, which for decades was a reliable and, more importantly, obedient energy partner of the United States, is now, for the first time in many years, making a sharp turn. And this turn is not toward Europe, not toward internal consolidation. It is a strategic pivot to the east, toward China, India, Japan, toward a new world order. The TMX, Trans Mountain Expansion Project, which cost the Canadian budget a colossal $34 billion, almost 5 times more than the initial estimates, is finally completed. It was built with great difficulty, protests, lawsuits, political pressure, rising costs, but it has been built. And now the pipeline connects the oil sands of Alberta with the coast of British Columbia all the way to the port city of Burnaby. 890,000 barrels of oil per day. That's a volume comparable to entire countries. Moreover, it is a volume capable of changing the strategic map of the entire Pacific region. According to expert estimates, each day the TMX pipeline can fill up to 50 Olympic-sized swimming pools with oil. That may sound like hyperbole, but in an energy-hungry world, it is a tangible asset. Direct access to the Pacific market means that, for the first time in history, Canada has the opportunity to dictate terms. It is no longer tied to a single buyer, the United States. Did you know that before this, 99% of all Canadian oil was exported only to the United States? That created the illusion of partnership, but in reality, it was economic subordination. The United States was buying cheap Canadian oil, often at $20 to $30 per barrel below the market price. Why? Because there were simply no alternatives, and now Canada has found them. With the launch of TMX, direct routes to Asia are opening. China, the largest oil importer in the world, gains access to Canadian oil. This is a stable, predictable, and environmentally regulated supplier, and that makes Canada a highly attractive partner for Beijing. China has long been interested in diversification, and now it is getting exactly what it sought. Canada, once considered a reliable ally of the United States, is now building economic ties with its chief geopolitical competitor. This is a reversal. It is not just an adjustment of foreign policy. It is a change of course, a shift in orientation. Inside Canada itself, tensions are running high. Justin Trudeau had promised to achieve carbon neutrality, but the launch of TMX is expected to add up to 17 million tons of CO2 to the atmosphere annually. This is a direct blow to climate commitments. Indigenous communities are filing lawsuits. Environmental movements are sounding the alarm. But the government insists independence is more important. This is not just about oil. It is about rights, about sovereignty, about ambition. Canada no longer wants to be a raw material appendage. It wants to become an equal player in the global energy system. And TMX is just the first step. And what are the United States doing? The Trump administration has fallen into a trap of its own making. The policy of tariffs and isolationism has resulted in a collapse of influence. Washington has lost not only access to cheap oil, but also control. Now, to meet domestic demand, the United States is forced to turn to less stable regions: Venezuela, Nigeria, Iran. And that means increased costs, increased risks, and reduced energy resilience. But the true blow is being struck at the very heart of U.S. financial hegemony, at the dollar. For several years now, China has been advocating for trade settlements in yuan. Since 2018, oil futures have been traded in yuan on the Shanghai Exchange. And now, With Canadian oil flowing to Asia, the moment may come when transactions are no longer conducted in dollars, but in yuan. Saudi Arabia is already in negotiations. Russia made the switch long ago. India and Turkey are exploring their options. And now Canada. A Western, democratic, and respected country may soon stand alongside the challengers of the dollar. If oil stops being traded exclusively in dollars, the dollar will cease to be the world's reserve currency. And that means the entire financial architecture of the United States will begin to crack. Trump himself pushed Canada toward this pivot. Tariffs, sanctions, and trade duties, all of it eroded trust. And China seized the opportunity. Countries around the world are watching. If Canada takes this step, others will follow. Next comes LNG exports. The LNG Canada project, valued at $40 billion, will begin deliveries by the end of 2025. The volume, 14 million tons per year. Buyers, Japan, South Korea, China. This is no longer just about oil. This is about gas. This is the next phase. This is the formation of an energy alliance outside the control of the United States. A new player is stepping onto the stage. A third pole, Canada. With resources, stability, and technology, all that remains is to articulate its ambitions. And judging by its actions, they are already clearly stated. But risks remain. What if oil prices collapse? What if the United States applies political pressure? What if domestic resistance in Canada intensifies? All of that is possible, but the shift can no longer be stopped. TMX is not just a pipeline. It is a metaphor for a new world. One where there is no longer a single center of power, where there is no longer a single rule, where sovereignty means the ability to choose to whom you sell your oil. And if oil stops flowing in dollars, will the dollar still be a symbol of strength? Share your thoughts. The new energy era is beginning right now, and you are its living witness.